All right, let's talk about something that is quietly becoming a huge part of teenage life. A new technology that a brand new report from Common Sense Media is finally shedding some light on. I'm talking about AI companions. And we're not talking about asking Siri for directions here. This is about a totally new kind of digital relationship. And frankly, the scale of it is pretty mind-blowing. So to get us started, let me just ask you a question. What's one thing that you think nearly 3/4 of all teenagers are doing right now? It's not a specific social media app. It's not a video game. The answer is probably not what you think.
The answer is this: 72%. According to the data, a staggering 72% of teens aged 13 to 17 have used an AI companion. Let that sink in. That's nearly 3 out of every 4 teens. This isn't some niche trend anymore. It is completely mainstream.
Okay, so what exactly is an AI companion? Well, the report is very clear. This is a digital character that you can text or talk with, and it's specifically designed for personal, meaningful feeling conversations. If you've heard of platforms like Character.ai or Replica, that's what we're talking about. They can be a friend, a confidant, even a role-playing partner. It's a very, very different thing than a task-based AI. So let's get into it. What does this new kind of friendship actually look like for the millions of teens using it? Well, the first thing to know is that the reality here is in black and white. You know how it is. Some people predict this tech will save lonely kids. Others say it's a dystopian nightmare. The data shows that both of those extremes are wrong. The truth, as it usually is a lot more complicated. So, why are so many teens jumping on board? Well, for most of them, the reasons are actually pretty straightforward. The biggest drivers are just plain old entertainment and curiosity. Most teens say they use them because, it's fun, or they're just exploring the technology, seeing what it can do. For a lot of them, this is more like a new kind of toy than a deep emotional crutch. And here's the reality check. Teens still know the difference. When you ask them to compare these AI chats to talking with their real friends, a huge majority, 2/3 of them, say it's less satisfying. They value that real human interaction more. And get this, a full 80% of teens who use these things still spend more of their time with actual human friends. Only a tiny fraction, just 6%, spend more time with an AI. So for the vast majority, this tech is a supplement, it's not a replacement. But, and this is a really big but, that's not the whole story. Because while most teens seem to be navigating this pretty well, the report also uncovers some very serious, very real risks that we just can't ignore. This is where the narrative starts to take a much darker turn. This is the official line from Common Sense Media's own risk assessment. Unacceptable risks. That is incredibly strong language. And it comes from extensive testing that found major safety failures, from spitting out inappropriate content to giving really, really dangerous advice. A huge part of the risk comes down to how they're designed. Researchers call it sycophancy. It's a fancy word, but what it means is simple. The AI is programmed to agree with you, to validate you, to affirm your worldview no matter what it is. And while that might feel good in the moment, for a teenage brain that's still learning critical thinking, a friend who never pushes back can be subtly manipulative and even stunt their growth. And these dangers are not just hypothetical what-ifs. The report discusses the kinds of severe harm that have occurred, pointing to real-world tragedies where a teen's death was linked to their relationship with a chatbot. And the testing failures are just jaw-dropping, like one AI companion that literally provided a recipe for making napalm. The potential for serious harm is very, very real. And all of this brings us to a huge question of trust, because the data shows that some teens are using these platforms in ways that make them incredibly vulnerable. Let's just look at the numbers. First, 1/3 of teen users, 1 in 3, say they felt uncomfortable with something an AI companion has said or done. That right there is a major red flag. At the same time, another 1/3 of users say they've specifically chosen to talk to an AI about a serious issue instead of talking to a real person. So this isn't just fun and games for everyone. For this group, it's becoming a go-to for deep personal support. And that vulnerability leads to maybe the most concrete risk of all. Nearly 1/4 of teen users have shared private information.
their real name, their location, their deepest secrets. They are confiding in a system, but what happens to all that data? This is what happens. This is a direct quote from the Terms of Service for Character.ai. By using it, you are giving the company a perpetual irrevocable license, meaning forever and you can't take it back, to copy, exploit, and commercialize your conversations. Those secrets your teen is sharing, they can be sold. Forever. So the picture is clear. It's a mix of casual use and really serious risk. The report doesn't just leave us there, though. It concludes by laying out what we can all do about it right now. And the main recommendation? It is completely unambiguous. Based on all the findings, the manipulative design, the privacy nightmares, the documented harms, Common Sense Media's verdict is that in their current state, no one under the age of 18 should use these platforms, period. For parents, the advice is to start talking. Have open conversations. Help your teen understand that a friend who is designed to only agree with them isn't a real friend. And watch for the warning signs that it might be replacing real connection or, even more seriously, professional help when it's really needed. And educators have a huge role here too. The report calls for schools to start building real AI literacy into what they teach, help students understand how these systems actually work, and crucially, educate them on the massive privacy risks of sharing their personal lives online. But ultimately, this can't just be on kids and parents. The report calls for real systemic change. It demands that tech companies put in real age verification, not just a checkbox, that they build in crisis intervention systems. And it calls on policymakers to establish a legal duty of care and to ban these insane perpetual data licenses for children. Which really brings us back to this final thought-provoking question. The appeal of these AI companions is so obvious, right? A friend who's always there, always listens, and never ever judges. But this report forces us to ask a really tough question. What is the true cost of that kind of perfection? What do we lose when we have access to a friend who is literally designed to do nothing but agree with us? That's something we all need to be thinking about.